Hey, Spookies.
Gotta clean these glasses.
What's up, dudes, dudettes, duderinos? Welcome back to Let's Make Comics. I am Stephen Emond. I'm one half of the Mighty Mighty Machine Corps, a new spooky comics publisher. I'm feeling good tonight. I've got my adult beverage here. It's adult because it's very mature to drink water. I feel like I've been planning this year for months now, and I'm so excited it's finally 2020 and I can start taking actions. Today's video is all about setting goals, and this is Let's Make Comics, so it's going to be tied into my goals for comics and goals that hopefully you can use too in terms of making comics or art or whatever kind of thing you're interested in. Now, this YouTube channel is literally only 2 days old. This is my second video, and as we know, when a child is 2 days old is when it needs the most affection. So if you could like and subscribe and maybe even comment if you get anything out of this video or if you find it entertaining at all. And if you don't find it entertaining and you don't get anything out of it, well, then I'm just going to try next week again to win your heart, you stubborn scoundrel. I love you. Alright, tonight on Let's Make Comics, I'm going to be talking about setting goals. I'm going to talk specifically about my goals, all the things I want to do this year, how I plan to achieve those things. I'm going to tie it to comics. I'm going to tell you about my creative goals for this year. What am I doing with my hands?
Hatching an evil plot, setting goals. That's what I want to talk about today. So it's a lot of asking yourself questions like, what do I want to do this year? And part of doing what I want to do this year is, what am I going to do this month to get there? What am I going to do this week? What are my goals today? All in favor of getting to this end goal of what I want for the year. I'm a big planner, I'm a big outliner in my projects and my life. I like to make lists, sticky notes, planners, printout calendars. I used to write on my hands. I like to have what I'm doing written down and planned out. I like to have a purpose in the actions that I take. Even when I start a project, a lot of times I'm projecting all the way to the end. I like to picture the reviews. And I think like, okay, if I had a glowing review of this book that I'm setting out to write, what does it say? Are they saying, Emond delivered beautiful prose and something that really gets to your heart or whatever, that gives me some kind of guidance. Like, I want to get that review, so I'm going to write a book that's going to lead up to that. Generally for me, each year it involves publishing in some way. It involves doing a new book or doing a new comic book. Lately it's been, try to get this project off the ground, get this to a publisher, get this through my agent, my editor, and the acquisitions team, and get this into bookstores. Ideally getting published, getting the advance, earning out royalties, making money off of your art. This year I have a different goal for probably the first time in a long time, and it's a little scary and it's also exciting. I want to reestablish myself. My goals this year are to reestablish myself as an artist, to reestablish myself in comic books, to reestablish myself as a person and with my fan base, to grow my fan base, to communicate with my fans. Those are all my goals for this year. So even though I'll be working creatively and drawing and writing, my goal isn't to have my next book published by Macmillan or Little Brown Books for Young Readers or Image Comics or anything. I'm doing this completely on my own, pretty much outside of the publishing industry that I've been a part of for the past decade. Not really involving any editor or agent in this. This is kind of me just freewheeling out there on my own, trying to develop myself as an artist and as a person. I think it's fair to take a year and do that and kind of recenter yourself and figure out what it is exactly that you want to do. I do want to make art still, and I want to get it directly to an audience. I haven't had a book out since 2015, which was Bright Lights, Dark Nights. So that's, going on 5 years now. That's too long for me. I don't want to be taking 5 years in between projects anymore. Those 5 years were filled with a lot of almost projects, a lot of things that I started and didn't get published, projects that fell through. So there was a lot of disappointment wrapped up in there. So many things that I was passionate about that I wish I could have just put out and put in front of an audience and just see what happens. But sometimes publishing can be frustrating like that. I want to have something out there that people can read regularly. When I was doing Emo Boy back in 2005, 6, and 7, every other month I had a new book out, and that was really exciting. Like, I would spend a month working on a book and then a month with the book out there, getting reviews and publicizing it, and there was a lot of activity constantly, and that was a really fun feeling. Whereas with traditional publishing, you spend, a year, 2 years, 3 years working in silence on a book, and then all of a sudden it's out and you're going to conventions and reading appearances, and a month later you're back to quiet life and working on books by yourself. It's a very weird industry like that. So that's my goal this year. Part of setting goals is setting attainable goals, like making concrete things. So I want to grow my audience. I want to connect with my audience. I want to make myself more available. So how am I going to achieve those things? I can't just say I want to expand my fan base and, snap my fingers and it's done. Like, there's my goal for the year, I did it. I have to actually do something. I have to take some kind of action to achieve that goal. Part of it is doing this web series, doing this YouTube channel, Let's Make Comics. I'm going to be posting this weekly. This is a way for me to open up, talk about what I'm going through, talk about how these goals are going, open myself up to discussions, talk about these things, talk about making comics, talk about making art, all things that I love and enjoy. So this is something that's really fun for me. It's a work in progress. I have no idea how exactly this is going to go. I'm going to try to do this at least weekly, if not more than weekly. And it's going to be, I'm learning as I go. Figuring out lighting, figuring out recording equipment, how to make this sound okay, how to make it look okay. Try to get some kind of professionalism to it. This is my second video, so I'm learning. This is a process, but I hope you stick around and kind of watch this process. Watch the channel grow, watch the videos get better, ideally watch the fan base grow, and I'll also be updating you on other projects that I'm doing. I'll be going to comic book conventions this year as part of Machina Corps. We'll be using social media more. That's scary, that's a work in progress, but these are all steps that I'm taking. These are all things I did not do last year. Now, expanding my fan base is still kind of broad. It's a little too generic to be a really good goal. I mean, if 50 people follow me that didn't follow me at the beginning of the year, is that expanding my fan base? Do I want 50 more people, 100, 1,000, 1,000,000? I don't know. I just know that I have work to do here. I can feel it, and it's definitely something that I need to be doing. Another part of my goals for the year is I'm going to be doing a webcomic. I'm doing a horror comic called Have Heart. This is a project that's been kind of on my back burner for a long time. I did every few years for the past decade, I've tried another version of this story. My last big stab at it was in 2016. Right now feels like just the right time to do it, and to do it outside of the publishing area, I think kind of opens me up to relax and do the book that I want to do, as opposed to trying to fit it into something that might work in traditional publishing. So I'm not going to do a Kickstarter for the comic, or at least not yet, because I don't feel like I have the fan base and the connection to pull that off. I'm not going to go to any of my publishing contacts because I don't think that it's necessarily something traditional publishing would want to publish. I think it's weird and it's dark, but I feel like there is an audience for it, and webcomic is what it needs to be right now. I need to prove that there's an audience for it. I need to find that audience and have them see this comic. It's not, the book that the librarian's gonna suggest to the kids. It's not, a book that the schools are gonna stock. It's for art lovers, for weird kids, people into interesting stuff. It's cerebral and quirky, and hopefully it looks good. But more on that later. That's something that I'm gonna be continuing to develop these first couple months, and hopefully in the spring I'll be launching that. So that's a major goal for me. So I got the YouTube series, I've got conventions, I've got my webcomic. That's going to keep me pretty busy this year. So even when I have these different goals, there's still the question of making each one of these goals even more attainable. So I'm going to do a YouTube series every week. That doesn't just happen. That takes goals. So let's say I want to post these at, Saturday night. So Friday, I'm recording the introductions. Saturday, I'm recording this right now, this audio, to go over the art. Anytime during the week I'm doing art, I'm recording it so that I could put it into these Let's Make Comic videos. During the week, I'm planning out what I want to talk about, what I want to say. So if it's Wednesday and I don't have a good script yet, or not script, but, a list of things that I want to discuss, that's a goal that I need to reach. So let's say Wednesday and Thursday, I really need to finalize what I'm going to talk about. Friday, I'm going to introduce it and get all spruced up with my lighting and everything and record that. Saturday, I'm doing audio, editing Saturday evening. You have to have goals in place for what if I'm busy that weekend? What if I have plans and I'm not going to be able to do that? Maybe I need to stockpile. Maybe I need to do 2 videos at a time so I have one ready for when that happens. All things that you got to think about, that you got to write down, that you got to plan for. So time is rare. Time is money. I work a full-time job, full disclosure, so any of these projects that I'm doing, working on comics, working on videos, preparing for conventions, that's all done after work hours when I'm beat and exhausted at the end of the day. Time is rare, energy is rare, so having those plans and those goals in place, like, okay, I know when I go home tonight, I'm gonna be beat, but if I can accomplish A, B, and C, I can relax the rest of the night. I know I'm on track for accomplishing my goals for this week. So a regular week for me could be posting Emo Boy every day, working on ideas and scripts for videos, finding as much time as I can to draw. I like to try to find at least once a week where I can go out for a couple hours to a cafe and just write. And writing for me doesn't necessarily mean, chapter 1, paragraph 1. Going out to write for me can be just organizing, planning out what I want to do, what I need to do, all these lists and things, thinking about social media, thinking about bigger long-term things, but also thinking, what am I going to be doing for this webcomic? How am I going to make this work? What needs to be done still? Doing sketches and all that stuff. So I like to have at least a couple hours a week that I could just think and organize and be clear. And meanwhile, while I'm at work, I've got my sticky notes everywhere. If something pops into my head, I'm jotting it down. I'm a big believer in writing things down. That's it for today. That's setting goals. That's my goals, my plans, my creative goals for the year. I'm going to talk a lot more about Have Heart and the long path that's taken in the near future. I'm thinking of actually doing a kind of making of series on YouTube, showing all these sketches, the earlier versions, what's led up to this webcomic, and I'll talk plenty about what to expect, but it's really exciting. It's something I'm super passionate about. It's taking it as serious as any other project I've done. This is my big project for right now. This is what I'm doing, so stick around.
All right, so there it is. Lay out your wants. Be realistic. Look at your end game. Look at where you are now. How do you get from A to B? Make some concrete goals. I'm really into these printout calendars. You can just go on to printable calendar on Google. I write down on all the bills I have to pay, things I have to do, but I write down, daily goals, sticky notes, anything. Put it down on paper somewhere and hold yourself accountable. You can do it. Hunt that subscribe button, press like, send a comment, I'm not so famous that I won't respond yet. I've got at least a month before I get to that point. So now is the time to talk. Go out there, set some goals of your own, and as always, stay spooky. Oh yeah, that's spooky.